Hello everybody. This presentation is about the scientific evidence and the healing effect of a very special formula, LCS 101, in cancer care. When we look at the effect of herbal medicine, and especially complex herbal medicine, we see the difference between what we call target to multi-targeted. Nowadays, the Western medicine becomes a targeted medicine. As you can see, especially biological medicine, they are targeted either to the surface of the cell or to some mechanism of action inside the cell, while herbal medicine, and especially formulas, are multi-targeted. They are more looking at producing some holistic healing effect, which is very different to the way allopathic medicine works today. So the multi-targeted medicine, and especially formulas, are working at the same times on immunity, achieving an immune enhancement, having some anti-cancer effect, and also making the quality of life much better, especially during chemo. This is something we have deeply researched. So you can see the deep difference, first of all, in this kind of main approach between these two systems. When we are looking at the healing effect, specific healing effect of especially traditional medicine, when we are combining a specific formula, we see the effect on protection and recovery and prevention. So the same formula can act in different aspects of cancer care and producing different effects, like in protection, protecting from the side effects of chemo, in recovery, helping the body's own system to recover better, and in prevention, we see the potential of preventing disease by also working as an anti-cancer effect, and especially, as you will see, the anti-cancer effect of this formula, we studied in many studies and we showed it. So looking deeper at the scientific effect of this herbal formula, I would like to introduce the scope, the bioactivity of each individual herbs, and then the formulation and its effect in different types of research. We have researched this formula for over 15 years. And when we look at evidence, there is the pyramid of evidence, which starts very low as mechanism of action and see how it reacts in on cells and then on animals, and going up to RCT, to randomized clinical trials. All the things that you see in green is all the different aspects that we have studied of this formula. So we went very high on this pyramid of evidence, showing the evidence of all the multiple effect of this formula and this multiple targets of this formula. And let me take you step by step during these studies. And also you have to understand that this 15 years of studies, we covered it in many different hospitals and cancer centers around the world, starting from Israel, going to America and to Europe. And the good thing that we see a repetition in our studies in different labs and different centers. So this kind of repetition of studies in different parts of the world are showing the effectivity, but also the reproducibility of this type of formula. The formula is made of 14 different herbs, and if we look at their deeper research, you will see that some of the herbs have anti-cancer research, some of the herbs have immunological studies, and some on protection, especially of side effects of Western medicine, and especially for chemo, but also from other types of medicine. And some of the herbs have even all the three effects studies, especially in vitro. So we see that the natural medicine in its make has this kind of multi-targeted and much larger effect than a single molecule like we see and know in Western medicine. And when we looked at all the different components, we covered more actually than 1,000 different in vitro, especially in vivo research, to see all what has been studied around the world for the effect of individual herbs in these three areas that we later studies also in animals and humans. So let me take you through this kind of slow motion through all the different aspects of the formula. So first of all, we studied the protection, and we published it, by the way, in one of the most reputable journals, in The Oncologist, and with a big group of scientists, oncologists, and clinicians involved in the study. We did a randomized clinical study when we took women with breast cancer randomized them into two groups while they are taking their chemotherapy, and obviously double-blinded, and then waited. It took about almost 5 years to see the difference between the part of the group that took the real formula comparing to placebo, like the gold standard of randomized clinical trial. The effect was very clear, especially when we look at blood cells and the CBC, the blood count of these patients. So if you look at the anemia, hemoglobin under 10, for the women who took the formula, the LCS 101, only 18% of them had hemoglobin under 10. While the women who took the placebo, almost 50%, 48%, had hemoglobin under 10. And again, it was a validated p-value, so statistically validated. When we look at leukopenia, the reduction of white blood cells under 3,000, again, 18% in the real comparing to 42% in the placebo. So there's a big difference between the group that is taking the real formula to the placebo, and we see it on anemia, leukopenia, and even deep neutropenia. This has many clinical ramifications, because if the blood, both the white blood cells and the red blood cells are high, it means, first of all, that there is less complication. The patients are less tired. You can give the chemo all along, because a lot of time the chemo had to be stopped in patients that their white blood cells went below a certain level, and definitely neutrophils. And it helps to prevent a secondary infection. This is one of the risks that patients are having while they're taking chemotherapy and their immune system is compromised. And generally, a better quality of life. And we did study the quality of life as well. That was another study. And we saw that on many different aspects, there is a big difference between what is expected and what the patients who are taking the formula feeling, both in fatigue, nausea, weakness, pain, and also general well-being when we compare it to a normal formula. So this was kind of some insight into the protection side. When we look at the anti-cancer effect, we see even more interesting things. At the beginning, we saw a clear, direct anti-cancer killing, which is dose-dependent, time-dependent, and we even look at the mechanism of action, and we published it. But later on, when we went deeper into the studies, especially in our lab, we saw that there's some special phenomena which is happening when we're using this formula. The formula is selective. It kills the cancer cells, but doesn't affect normal cells. So it has an inherent selective mechanism of action which protects totally the normal cells while killing the cancer cells. Here you can see the EP2, it's the normal prostate cancer cells, and you see that they're all alive, even if we take the LCS 101 dosage from 0 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5, so we're increasing the dosage, and the normal cells of the prostate are alive, while the cancer cells are dying around 3 milligrams per mole. They're already dead. And the same we see also when we look at breast cancer cells and others. So this is a normal breast cancer cell, 0, so this will be our control. And now we are taking up the dosage in the normal breast cancer cells. The immortalized normal breast cancer cell is fine. But when we are starting to look at a cancer cell, you see at a certain level the cancer cells are starting to die while the normal cells are still alive. And we saw the same with colon cancer, prostate cancer, lung cancers, and others. We have studied many different cancer cell lines, and also in the clinic. We see patients taking the formula with many different types of solid tumors. And this selective effect also was published, and we saw the same effect not just in the killing, but also in the protection. The formula protects the normal cells from the chemotherapy, while it helps even to kill faster the cancer cells. So this was with another group that we studied it at Sheba Medical Center in Israel, and we had collaboration with MD Anderson in the States. Most of our studies are collaborating with many groups of people. And lastly, let's look at immunity. When we're looking at especially the deep immunity at activation of T cells and natural killer cells, we see that the formula can activate up to 4 times, up to 400% more the natural killer cells. And this has many ramifications, especially in preventing disease and preventing viruses. But this is also another arm of the body detecting all the time, surveilling itself and killing cancer cells. So the immune arm is as important and sometimes more important, especially when we are talking about natural medicine, than anti-cancer or any other activity. And all these topics that I'm covering and is published in the peer-reviewed journals, and you have the references to check. And one of the other things that we looked at was interaction with chemotherapy. One of the main concerns about natural medicine, especially herbal medicine, is the reduction of activity of regular medicine. So we took really a lot of time and many deep studies to see if there is any interaction, negative or positive. One of the studies we published about 10 different types of chemo with 10 different types of cells of many different cancers, and we saw no negative intervention. Many times the opposite. We saw add-on effect. When you put the chemotherapy with the herbal medicine, we see actually an enhanced activity in cell lines in vitro. So it's very promising. And with radiotherapy, it's even more interesting because it's not just not reducing the effect of radiotherapy. We can see actually synergic effect, like 1 on 1 is more than 2. We see a strong synergic effect when we are combining the LCS101 with radiotherapy. And we also have ideas about the mechanism of action because both the radiotherapy and now we know also that the activity, especially the anti-cancer activity of this formula, is through the ROS, reactive oxygen species. So we are enhancing this mechanism which is affecting both the better killing of cancer cells. So this is one of the concerns that we hope that we are on the path to kind of reduce, and therefore patients can get an integrative medicine combining natural proven medicine with their regular treatment, and also using it to follow up and to help potentially prevent their disease. One of the summaries we have published about this multi-targeted approach, and we're also showing the different safety effect, was this study, which is called the Botanical Formula LCS101, Multi-Targeted Approach in Cancer Care. And we did it in cooperation with Professor Rosenthal, who is one of the renowned professors in Harvard Medical School, a professor of oncology. So if you want to read one study about the formula, probably this will be one of the good summaries to look at. As I said at the beginning, this healing effect is what is the most interesting. You know, we are looking at a phenomena, comparing to Western medicine, which is targeted. We are understanding the mechanism of action. It's very easy to follow the logic. When we are coming to natural medicine, we are looking at a certain phenomena. It's a healing phenomena. We don't just adding up an intervention in the body, but we're actually enhancing the body's abilities and activities. And this is what's so unique about herbal medicine and natural product, but also more unique about the formulation of herbs which are done according to traditional way of understanding how herbs are working and through understanding modern medicine and modern science. And this is, to me, one of the most important parts, so we can better integrate herbal medicine or natural medicine. We actually look at the bioactivity of this medicine with conventional treatment, or also when it is needed to recovery, etc. So when we are looking at this healing effect, it has its own importance in the different aspects of the cancer care life. Like in protection protecting side effects, as we've shown in randomized clinical trials, especially when patients are having so many side effects from their chemo, and they're at danger both from secondary infection, but also tired, and their quality of life is very reduced. And if we can help prevent it or enhance it, to me this is one of the most important things that we can do in cancer care. To help patients, first of all, to go also through the treatment with a better quality of life and a better inner ability to cope. Because when you are tired, it's more difficult to cope. When your blood levels are dropping down, there is again dangers of other things such as infections. And then we can look at prevention, because many times between treatments there is just a follow-up. So to take natural medicine, which is helping to promote the natural immunity and helping to promote the natural quality of life with the potential of selectively killing cancer cells, is something which is extremely important, and our future research is actually very much aimed, and we already finished a pilot with a different formula and into the showing the prevention of recurrence of secondary cancer. So the potential of recurrence and taking herbal medicine for prevention of recurrence, to me, is one of the greatest potential of this medicine. And then we also in the clinic, we are seeing patients that are living with cancer. They have metastatic disease, so they are usually ongoing, taking some form of intervention. And this intervention, whether it's chemo, anti-hormonal medicine, or others, are affecting their quality of life. And we are seeing that when we are adding this formula, then their quality of life is much enhanced, and at least in a clinical observation, there is a much better effect in the lifespan, in the way patients are just enjoying their life while living with cancer. And to me, this is one of the areas that we should study more and more, because in many cancers they can become just a chronic disease, and if we can enhance the health of these patients, this is to me critical to maintain a good life also while having cancer. And I like to kind of finish with a few examples, clinical examples, because they illustrate how we are using the formula. So the first one is for protection, as I've shown. So it's a patient, she's 42 with breast cancer. She started treatment with LCS101 during her chemo, and immediately her quality of life was increased with better white blood cells and red blood cells counts, and minor, and that's what we see very often, very minor side effects overall. And she's taking a full dosage, because we are taking a higher dosage when patients are using it for protection, and a lower dosage for maintenance, and a much higher dosage when patients are living with cancer. The second example is for survivorship, or patient with high risk, like patient who has some genetic disposition. Then here is a female, 75 years old, after breast cancer, taking the LCS101 already for 8 years, together along with her anti-hormonal medicine, and with excellent quality of life. Actually, her hot flashes and sweating almost been eliminated while she started to take this kind of integrative medicine, integrating the Western and the bioactive formula. And her hot flashes, quality of life, everything was enhanced. Last is a patient living with cancer, is a male, 67, with metastatic prostate cancer, and is taking the LCS101 for over 4 years. And he's reporting a better quality of life. Actually, he never got ill in that time, less fatigue, which is very important, and even return of sexual drives and ability, which is was for us a surprise, but we see it repeating in the clinical observation. So to finish up with the healing effect, and this is the main thing, we are studying different things, but we are trying to understand what is healing, how we can enhance the healing mechanism in a patient. And when we combine the scientific research with this healing wisdom of natural medicine, which has been working for thousands of years. And we are looking at the traditional medicine and its understanding and deep understanding of the interaction of natural medicine with the body in illness. When we are combining this all, we get a better understanding of how we can enhance healing and increase the potential of health in patients. I would like to thank you very much. Be healthy, stay healthy, and all the very best from me.